The fit and finish and the build quality on the Crossfade LPs. First off, personally, I think they're a great looking set of headphones. You can see it says V-Moda across the top of the headband here. On the inside of the headband, they have just a nice little design, cloth piece of material. Just looks nice. It's not all that soft, but you know, it's not terrible. On the outside, you've got the chrome plated accents, which by the way are just fingerprint prone. They're horrible for that. I find myself wiping these off quite a bit. And I mean, all the way around, it's a very solid build. I mean, these don't feel cheap at all. They feel like a great build set of headphones. The extensions on the headband, they click into place very nicely and stay put. You can see here the cable itself, it's braided. They did a great job on that. That's probably not going to get hurt at all. And the padding, it's soft, but there's firm cushioning inside of it, so it's not ultra cushy on your head, but it's not uncomfortable either. The sideways pressure on it I found to be pretty decent, and overall it's just a really solid build. I mean, they did a nice job on these, and all the nice little touches here, like it has V-Moda etched into the chrome plating there, and even just the screws, the bolts that hold them in. I mean, it's a nice finish on them. They did sweat the details on these. And this particular set of headphones has a nice pearlescent finish on it. If you've seen a Cadillac with the white diamond color or anything on it, it's similar to that. And as far as the fit, it's kind of interesting. They are a little bit firm on the pads, but what I've noticed is they're very narrow in the ear cups, and I don't have large ears by any means, and you'll basically feel these touching both sides of your ears. So that's something to be aware of. Now, for me personally, these are a little bit heavier. I think all the metal on the headphones here actually makes these a little bit heavier set of headphones. They're heavier than they look because they're not huge, but they're definitely not lightweights. And as a matter of fact, the lady who let me borrow these, she doesn't really like them because she's pretty tiny, and apparently these way too much for her head. They hurt her neck, and she said the pressure hurt her jaws. So I don't notice any of that discomfort myself, but it's something to be aware of. But again, they're not huge headphones, but they are weighty for what they are. Now, the one thing I do love about these is these do have a detachable cable that plug in right here, and I'll show you those here in a second. But overall, I've got to say the build quality on this is very nice. I mean, these are a beautiful set of headphones and constructed very well. It also comes with an iPhone, or basically an iPhone or an iPod cable as well. You've got your typical volume up, volume down, pause, mute button in the middle, and on the back there you'll see that there's a little pinhole for your microphone. So you can take phone calls with these without having to take your headphones off, and just resume playing when you're done. And again, this is a 6-foot cable. They've done a very nice job. It's a braided cable on this one as well, so it should last you for quite a while, assuming that you don't just thoroughly abuse your equipment. All right, so it's time to get into the meat of the discussion here, and that is the sound quality of the Crossfade LPs. And the first thing I want to talk about is the bass. Anybody who likes bass will love the V-Moda Crossfade LPs. These things are ridiculous. As a matter of fact, they are extremely bass heavy. So these aren't for people who want a natural sound. They're not for people who are looking for, neutral tonal accuracy across the board. These are absolutely bass heavy. And I found that just with my iPhone, these do a pretty decent job. I mean, we're talking ridiculous amounts of bass. With just the iPhone, they're loud, and they will do deep bass, but it won't rattle your brain. Now, I went ahead and tried these out with my Fiio E11, which all you guys know, I love my Fiio E11. I'm here to tell you right now, you put this thing on EQ2 and turn it up, and it takes me back to the days of when I had 12-inch woofers going off in my ears in my car. It is ridiculous how much bass these things will put out, and put out cleanly. It is literally like having a subwoofer on top of your head. It's if you are into bass, if you like rap, if you like dubstep, if you like anything where just thunderous bass is what you want, these things will get it done. They are ridiculous, people. I'm talking about, it's more bass than I experienced in the Beat Studios. And those things are literally just nothing but pounding bass. These, I believe, are louder, and they will also represent the notes cleaner. I mean, the bass notes themselves were actually very well articulated, even when it was just cranked up to stupid levels. How Low by Ludacris did not sweat. I never heard it clip out. It never flattened out. It didn't give that sound at all. It was just pure. On EQ2 on the E11, it'd just blow your mind. Switched over to an old song, "Wanna Be a Baller" by Little Troy. I still love that song. Again, just super clean bass, and it will literally shake on your head. It tickles your eardrums, and if you have sensitive ears, it's probably not your thing. These things will rock your brain with bass. Bass lovers out there, you need to check these out. They're awesome as far as if you just want ridiculous amounts of bass. It's amazing. Now let's get into the mid-range. The mid-range, these struggle. And now granted, I have not had an opportunity to burn these in properly. As a matter of fact, I'm borrowing these from the lady at work so that I could do this review. And she's listened to them a little bit. I doubt that she's probably got more than 20 hours on them. But with that in mind, the mids on these, they sound like, it almost sounds like you're in a hallway listening to vocalists, and not only just in a hallway, but behind a curtain in a hallway. So they're veiled mid-range, and they have like an echoey feel to them that's not all that appealing. Now, depending on the type of genre you're listening to, if you're listening to pure vocalists, don't pick these up. You're not going to enjoy it. It's not going to be what you're looking for. If you are listening to these, as I mentioned, with the bass thing in mind, chances are you're going to be listening to stuff with bass cranked up to just insane levels, and the vocals are kind of an afterthought anyways. They're not horrible for rap, but pretty much anything like country or any kind of just straight vocalist, you're not going to want to do that. I'd say pop is probably fine, rap, hip hop, that type of thing. Anything where the vocals aren't the main drive of the song, it's usually some sort of bass line or you know, other things going on, then these would be okay. But the mid-range is not great in these. It's not the worst I've heard, but it's not great. The treble. The treble is a little recessed. Again, the bass takes over, and it's not extremely detailed or textured. It's almost like listening to just about any other set of headphones that you can pick up out there. It's not bad sounding, and I never found it sibilant or harsh or anything like that, probably because by the time you turn the volume up that loud, your ears are just vibrating from the bass hit. So with that in mind, these are not audiophile type sounding headphones when it comes to the mid-range and the treble. The treble is there. It sounds decent. It's nothing super spectacular or anything like that, but it doesn't detract from the other parts of the music that you're probably going to be interested in listening to with this type of headphone. So in that regard, they don't detract. They're just not great. Let's talk about amplification and power needed to drive these. I mentioned my iPhone, and honestly, it will power these pretty well on their own. I mean, turning it up to about 70% is moderately loud. If you crank it up to 80, 85%, you'll actually have a decent amount of sound coming out. Now, I will tell you this, if you pair this thing with the Fiio E11, it will blow your mind the amount of bass you can get out of these things. I mean, it is just sheer ridiculous how much bass these things will put out, and cleanly. So, my recommendation is, if you're planning on getting a set of these, go ahead and pick up the Fiio E11 to go with it, because you're only going to really want to buy these if you are just a bass head. And I mean somebody that loves, craves, can't get enough bass. Pick up the Fiio E11 for another $50, and between these for 80 on sale, which Amazon had them, and that, you're going to have a slamming set of headphones that just rattle your brain. And if you want to take it a step further, you could pick up the new Fiio E11, and that way you'd actually have an additional equalizer built in where you can bump up the bass and even do the treble a little bit, or you could bring it down, and then that way you can kind of modulate the mids if you want. But with that in mind, they don't need an amp to go loud, but if you want to be able to do any special EQing or anything, I would highly suggest looking at either the Fiio E11 or maybe even the Fiio E11, the E07K. All right, let's talk about isolation. Let's talk about the kind where you can't hear what's going on around you first. These don't really block out any noise whatsoever. I can hear any conversations going on. In that regard, you wouldn't be getting these for any kind of noise isolation whatsoever. All right, now let's talk about what other people around you will hear. These are semi-open headphones, and I promise you, if you turn it up, people around you will be jamming out to whatever song you're listening to, as I'm going to demonstrate right here. Ludicrous Hello. I'm about to crank this up. You're going to hear this. I mean, the mic's about 3 feet from me, so here we go. So again, if you're going to be sitting around people, you probably don't want to wear these all day, as you will disturb some folks, especially if you start cranking the volume up. Wrapping up on the V-Moda Crossfade LPs. As you could tell, these are for a particular type of person who are interested in just slamming bass. I would not recommend these for anybody who's looking for anything that they might potentially want to listen to a wide variety of music with. These are for hip hop, dubstep, R&B, rap, anything like that where just bass is the focal point of the song, maybe even pop to a certain extent. And maybe reggae as well. But past that, I would really look further elsewhere. People are going to ask me, how do these compare to various different sets of headphones? These have these have more bass than the Audio-Technica M50s, even amped. I feel that the bass on them is more impactful and thunderous than the Pro 700 MK2s. However, both those other sets of headphones sound better on the whole than these do. So again, if you are just looking for bass-centric headphones, these things will fit the bill, and I would highly recommend picking up an amp with them that would allow you to EQ the bass up or down as well. Now, with that in mind, these are a lot of fun to listen to on certain types of genres, but you have to be interested in those. So, you know, there it is, the V-Moda Crossfade LPs.